Okay, my friends, you are at the front row seat of human history that's real. And Velikovsky is my hero, and Carl Sagan defamed him during his Cosmos series. Now, Carl Sagan is supposedly astrophysicist and all kind of science, which is great. I love that. But you have to debate. Now, he just attacked Velikovsky. Of course, Velikovsky's dead, can't respond. I respond for him. I put this out, well, I don't know, a year ago, but nobody really pays any attention. So I am going to continue on this until somebody does. And the first one I want to go to speak to is Neil Degrasse Tyson. He sees Sagan as his hero. I don't see Sagan as a hero. I see Velikovsky as a hero. I see Sagan destroying my hero, Velikovsky, with no retort. There's no way for him to talk back. So I will talk for Immanuel Velikovsky. And I expect Neil Degrasse Tyson to defend his hero, Carl Sagan. And now Carl Sagan invited Neil up. I'm going to call you Neil, okay, Neil? You call me Roger. All right, let's go with that. He invited Neil up to his house and showed him over Cornell and all this stuff. I watched the video of it. I was very proud of that. And that, yes, absolutely, he must have been thrilled, no question. But let's discuss what the current thought was then and what it is now. And again, I thought it was very disrespectful what Sagan did to my hero. So I just expect to be able to discuss this. And let's just get into this. Okay, let me just explain how this all started. I discovered the mud fossils, and that led me into this journey of trying to decide what everything is, even the stuff coming through space, because that's what I want to talk to Neil Degrasse Tyson about. Now, this is how I started. I went to Derek Briggs at Yale. Well, I couldn't go there. He wouldn't let me in. Here's his bio. Primary research interest, the preservation and evolutionary significance of exceptionally preserved fossils. That's why I went to him. Not only that, he's right down the street from me. Literally, he's 20 minutes away, not even. This involves a range of approaches, experimental work on the factors controlling decay and fossilization, exactly what I am doing, how it mineralizes and organic preservation, and extraordinary fossil occurrence in their taxonomic description and analysis. Precisely what I do. He refused to look at my stuff, even though I kept sending them over and over. I've sent him the CAT scans, the DNA tests, everything. He refuses to do it. The first words out of his mouth when I got a hold of him, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, was, "Oh, what are you, a creationist?" Because I had giants. And then it was all over downhill from there. Then everybody I went to after trying to approach Derek, they said, "Well, go down to Yale. You're right down the street." And I said, "He won't let me in." And they said, "Well, that can't be true. If you had anything, he would certainly. That's his whole life reign." I said, "No, he doesn't seem to care. He refuses to see it." And I have every bit of evidence. And they all did the same thing to me. They said, "Go to Yale. Don't ever contact me again." Basically, that was what happened. They said, basically, they treated me like an idiot. And so I blame Derek Briggs for not doing his job, basically. So that's where we're going to start. Now we're going to go to Neil, see if he does his job. All right, I was so upset that I wrote the book about the academic minds in complete collision with truth, not just mud fossils, anything that has to do with truth. Astrophysicists, if Neil Degrasse Tyson is an astrophysicist, I have plenty to speak about. I was so upset that in 2014, August 2014, I wrote to David Attenborough. I said, "You're the only one that ever knew anything about mud fossils." He writes back, he says, "No, I don't know anything about mud fossils." He says, "Dear Roger Spurr, thank you for your note. I am somewhat mystified by it. I have never made a video on mud fossils. Indeed, I know nothing of the subject. My interest is in recent entombment, is not in recent entombment, but fossils are many millions of years old. Yours sincerely, David Attenborough, and that was it. He's not interested. He thinks everything is many millions of years old. It's a fossil. It's not. I'm showing you stuff that's fossils. That wasn't that long ago. And I know the reason is because of my hero, Immanuel Velikovsky, did the research that showed we had a hot water flood because of almost impact by Venus. Now we're going to get into some nitty gritty. You ready? Here we go. Okay, don't forget now, my mud fossils are a product of Velikovsky's research, understanding there was a hot water flood. This is what perplexed me for quite a long time, was how they actually turned into solid stone. And the process is a hot water flood for a long duration of time. He says the ocean's boiled. That could very well be. And they're all flat on one side. They all ended up just laying on their side like that. And this all petrified absolutely flawlessly, just like Derek Briggs says he's trying to find flawlessly preserved fossils. Well, you don't get any flawlesser than this. Bones that are absolutely flawless to a degree that you can't believe. Blood still within them, scabs coming out of them. Lungs that you almost transplantable, they're so perfect. New species that need to be looked at. They have springs inside of them. They have a spring mechanism inside. It's different than our human feet. I have so much evidence to present, and I have the suppression of uncomfortable ideas. Now, we're going to find out about Carl Sagan. We're going to find out about Neil Tyson. We'll see what happens. Now, I've studied everything that's in space, I'm sure, as well as Neil Tyson. And I understand the biology, I understand the chemistry, I understand the anatomy. Everything that's coming through space is biology. I have iron meteorites here that have literal blood in them that is still active. Now, if Neil Tyson is a scientist of any degree, I'm sure he's going to have to answer to this and speak to it and just to discuss it. That's all. I don't want to put anybody down. This is new. This is brand new. Nobody ever expected this. This is insane. I agree. But to turn your back on it, that is more insanity. To turn your back on truth, I lose 100% respect for anybody. I don't care who they are, whatever reason it is. Truth is the only thing that matters to me. It's going to hurt me, it's going to help me, I don't know. But if it's true, it's true. Now don't forget, my hero Immanuel Velikovsky talked about a great hot water flood, and that's what preserved all these things. What happened in the area I'm in, it appears that most of the stuff, the flesh was cooked off, and the body parts which are wrapped in fascia, which is collagen, turns into feldspar. The feldspar coats the contents and preserves it. This is a lung that's been DNA tested, CAT scan, the whole 9 yards, anatomist verified, no question whatsoever what it is. And this is flat as a pancake because they died and boiled out of these. And same thing with this. This is a lung too. This has the pleura halfway ripped off. You see, this is the pleura is absolutely flawless. This one here, it's halfway off, and your lung is sticking out of the pleura, which is the coating of the lung. This has to go 24 hours a day. It's a big rubber bag your lungs are in. And this one, same thing, flat as a pancake. My buddy Caesar, same thing, absolutely flawless. His feather pattern and everything is in there, flat as a pancake. And that side is, you can't tell it's a duck or a goose or whatever he is. Caesar, I know you're a goose, man, I know it. I'm sorry. I'll never dispute that again. Bones boiled out, and and all of the cartilage and everything stays. Whatever was wrapped in fascia. I understand this very well. This is what upsets me so much, is it's refused to be spoken about. And these things in space, they're not flat as a pancake because they weren't in the flood. Oh, they're gigantic, and they're everywhere, and space smells like steak. So you better take it from there and start to think a little more carefully, Professor Tyson. Let's talk, my friend. Let's just talk. If this is real, it's real. If you're a scientist, you're a scientist. If you're just out playing a game, well, then there's nothing we're going to be able to do. But I'm hoping to find a scientist. All right, I'm going to show you the grip skin in a second, but it came off of this fingertip. Now, I have it highlighted a little bit, but this is the fingernail. This is the little pad that goes between the joint and the next bone so it doesn't scrape. This is the vein and artery. Now, let me just erase my little black stuff. This is actually right down in here. If you look at your finger, you have what they call, it's called luminal or something like that. It's, anyway, it's this little curve here. Boy, I can't remember the name of it. Luminal? Something like that. It's supposed to represent the moon or something. Lunula. I think it's called the lunula. That's it, the lunula. You don't hear that very often. Now, that's the fingernail. And that's that pad. And now, watch. I'm going to erase it. You see it. Just take your time. And if you have to, come back and look at it again. But that's the fingernail. All wraps all the way around. Now, and that's the bumper pad. And those are the two vein and artery. Now, I took a hammer, slammed it there, and it popped right off. And what it popped off is grip skin, which is exactly what's on Umaru Umaru. And here's the grip skin. It came right off, and it has fingerprints still on it. I mean, that thing is just like brand new. And look at the width of this. Is like you can't hardly see them. My finger is about the same width as one fingerprint ridge. And there's this sweat pads and all that stuff, sweat pores and all that. So that is exactly what's on Umaru Umaru, as you will see. Okay, this is comet or asteroid Umaru Umaru. That is a fingertip, and I will show you that in a second. This is a bone ball from a knuckle, well, from, I think it's right from the knuckle at your bottom. Here is the other side, is not quite as eroded and shows where the bone ball is underneath. This is the muscle fabric that surrounded that bone ball. So the fingertip is coming at us right now. The bone is broken here. But you see the ball of the bone here, and the ball of the bone would be here. And coming off of that bone ball, which is wrapped with muscle, is a tendon. And that's one of the tendons that comes down and does that so your finger can go back and forth. It's the ones that rock right down here. It's broken right there. You see that little round spot? You see that round spot right there? In the shadow, it's easy to see. That round spot was the center of the tendon that came down. Tendons have an abrupt transition and then they go into muscle. And that's exactly what happens over here. It has to come down to a little bit of springiness, and then it goes into the muscle, which is the really pulley part. And this is all muscle that wrapped around that bone ball. And here is the other side of the bone ball that's perfectly eroded. How cool is that? And this is all the layers of muscle and tissue that surround right over the top of your finger, just like this. This is coming right over the top of my finger. And that's the knuckle right there. And that is a bone. Now, I mean a fingertip. Now, can I show you in more detail? Absolutely I can. This hand eroded in all kinds of different places. I have perfect fingers. I have the perfect palm. I have all kinds of stuff. What you're looking at here is the finger. This Umaru Umaru, it's in space. You see that area right up there? That's the grip skin. Now I'm going to come in and home in on it a little closer so that we can get a little more detail on this. Here we go. It's going to home in. Boom. All right, let's back. Well, I think I straighten it out in a second. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Now, well, let me go back. I think I back it out a little bit. All right, here's perfect. You see down here? That's the end of the bone. That's where the bone goes right here. This is the grip skin, and I'm going to be showing you that in detail. This is the little bumpy little things down. The green is, I did some tests with this. Don't worry about the green. This is the way the bone works, and it has an apical tuft right on the end. So this is where the tendons are, and it's so they can pull back and forth like this. These straps end up going into these balls up above here. You see these little tiny, that's where the indentation is right there, where all that stuff goes. Then you have your bone underneath, and this has the strappy stuff over the top, and then it embeds right in up here. So that makes you so that you can pull your finger. And here's what it looks like in an X-ray. And that's all it is right there. Exactly what I'm showing you. This is all that, like there, and then there's an apical tuft at the end, which is here. And hold on one second. Now that fingertip was DNA tested too. I went deep down inside and drilled after I took off that slab so I could get inside. This is a hand. It's a left hand. This is the bumper pad that goes around your hand, same as you. This is the little pinch in the cleave in between the two pads. There's a tendon that sticks down on your left hand. Flay it out, you see it. Your little finger goes off this way and your thumb goes off that way. And I have a whole bunch of parts from this. I'll probably show you some more. I had some of a CAT scan, and it's been DNA tested, and it is what it is. It was almost 4 feet wide. It's somewhere around there. Like I say, this goes back 10, 12 years. And I'm just kind of, I don't want to be nasty, but I'm basically fed up with this intransigence by academia and what we call experts. And if Neil Tyson is an expert and an academic and a scientist and an honorable person, he will address me. That's all I'm asking for. He can laugh at me. That's fine. I just want somebody to interact with and not just be having all this evidence and have it dismissed. And the mud fossils that I have been DNA certified. I extracted the blood samples from them, literally almost like raw blood, and I sent them off, 3 different samples. One of them was that giant fingertip that I just showed you with the grip skin, and there was a lung, and there was another giant hand, and all 3 of them came back positive for human mitochondrial DNA, and the quality of the DNA was excellent. Here's right here. Excellent quality DNA was obtained because I drilled it right out of the artery. I know what I'm doing here. This is not a joke. This is not something that's silly. This is absolutely certain. And it's time that it be looked at by the academics and the people that claim to be the top scientists, like Neil Degrasse Tyson. And now he assaulted my hero, Immanuel Velikovsky, through Carl Sagan, whether he knows it or not, but he did. And I want to be able to confront that. That's all. All I'm asking for is this right here. All right? Velikovsky was assaulted by Sagan. I mean, virtually assaulted. Now, Neil Degrasse Tyson looks up to Sagan as a hero, because Sagan invited him to his house when he was young and so forth. Now, I want to debate Mr. Tyson. I want versus me. I want science versus theology. Well, what's theology versus science? Theology is like religion. None of that stuff when it comes to science. I want material evidence versus theory. I have the materials. I want truth versus self-interest. The people that are denying to look at what I have presented and what I can present all day long, every day, are working in their own self-interest so that they don't become basically irrelevant. That's what they're worried about, is becoming irrelevant. What they want to do is become real scientists, and then they won't become irrelevant. Now, who wins and who loses? You're going to lose. We all lost because of peer review and because of these academics. They come out and they assault truth. And that's what happened to my hero, Velikovsky. So we're going to start with him versus Sagan. And then we're going to continue on. Okay, once again, Immanuel, I will not let you down, my friend. And guess what? I won't back down. I won't get pushed around. And I won't let you be forgotten, my friend. All right, listen to this. I mean, I don't mean to be nasty, but this is about the most two-faced thing I've ever heard in my life. Carl Sagan, a suppression of uncomfortable ideas. Well, guess what? I know that extremely well. Listen to what he has to say.
There are many hypotheses in science which are wrong. That's perfectly all right. It's the aperture to finding out what's right. Science is a self-correcting process. To be accepted, new ideas must survive the most rigorous standards of evidence and scrutiny. The worst aspect of the Velikovsky affair is not that many of his ideas were wrong or silly or in gross contradiction.
Wrong or silly or in gross contradiction of the facts. Listen to this is very, very disturbing. Ooh, Carl Sagan. Well, I'm going to tell you what. Neil, listen, we got to talk because, I don't mean to be nasty again. I just mean to examine evidence, just like he said. Let's listen to this again. Listen.
Survive the most rigorous standards of evidence and scrutiny.
Absolutely.
The worst aspect of the Velikovsky affair is not that many of his ideas were wrong or silly or in gross contradiction to the facts. Rather, the worst aspect is that some scientists attempted to suppress Velikovsky's ideas.
Well, let's just look to see who those scientists were. Let's listen to that one more time. Hold on, let me be sure that we can... All right, so he's saying it couldn't have happened to stop the Earth. Well, first of all, the Earth is packed with an atmosphere, and so was Venus, and its atmosphere smashed into our atmosphere and combusted it, and it could have stopped Earth from spinning by pushing back against its atmosphere so violently that because it said they wobbled for a little bit and then it just stopped. Now, as it's being dragged through the solar system, it's going to start to spin again. Yes, absolutely. Because of its drag through the saturated nature of space, which is all of these particles coming out of the sun and all of the luminous bodies saturate space. CERN, Fermilab, they call it the quantum foam. And as it's being pulled through that, it would start to spin again. So everything he's saying is just all guesses that are wrong, in my opinion. And this is what I want to talk to Neil about. Here it goes. So he's saying it's impossible to have this happen. It's not going to do this, it's not going to do that. Well, have him look into my giants and the dragon in Morocco and then say, let's talk about what the ancient texts did say. Because they talked about those. They didn't laugh at that stuff, but it's all true too.
Geological evidence for flooding and volcanism 35.
Yes, there is. I showed it. And they're all mud fossils. I showed my mud fossils, Carl. All right, so my buddy Immanuel wins on that one again.
500 years ago, Babylonian astronomers observed Venus in its present stable orbit.
All right, whoa. Before, let's hear.
Before Velikovsky said it existed.
All right, let's just check that out. You see, this is what, they can make all these statements. Nobody contests it. I contest it. Here it is right here. The Babylonians said, in summary, 1483, Venus solution is among the better fit. This is exactly what Velikovsky said. And instead, Carl Sagan, and everybody says, Carl Sagan, he must be just a genius. Well, that's what Neil Tyson thinks too. Now, and I don't want to destroy anybody's reputation or any of that stuff. I really don't. But it's about time that somebody does their job. And I expect Neil Tyson to be that person. And that's what I'm hoping for. And if he isn't, this is not going to go well for him going down the road. It's just not. You got to do your job. Otherwise, you at some point, you don't look very good. Now, I don't think that's what he wants. I think he should step up. And the only way you're going to get him to do that is for a multitude of people to say, look at what Roger Spurr is putting out there. He wants to debate you. I can't get through to anybody. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work for me. So if you can help, I'd certainly be willing to thank you. That's about the best I could do. All right, thank you again. I love you all. And Neil, I really would like to engage, my friend. You can be the hero that opens up truth to the world. Because I can't get it done. I'm going to tell you right now, this is just not working for me. All right? So all you have to do is debate me. And then people can make up their own mind. That is what a scientist would do. And that's what you tout yourself as, so that's what I'm expecting. All right? I appreciate it, my good friend. And I mean that, my good friend. I do appreciate it. Okay, so you heard Carl Sagan's slander against my hero. What is an omen? An omen is a phenomenon that is believed to foretell the future, often signifying an event of change. Commonly believed in ancient times, still believed by some today, omens bring divine messages from the gods. Well, let's talk about Venus and the tablets, part of Enuma Elish, of the Enuma Anu Enlil. In the days of Anu and Enlil, a long text dealing with Babylonian astrology mostly consists of omens that we just talked about, in the form of celestial phenomena, things that were happening in the heavens. Now, there's as many as 20 copies of these texts. And then, and they don't go back a bazillion years. They're saying start somewhere in the Venus positions around 1700 BC, and then another round, all right? It came around a couple of times, and just like Carl Sagan said, it went through, it came back around, it went through, and finally it actually smashed into Mars, killed Mars, and finally took up its position as it spun around being dragged by the sun. Let me show you what I mean by that. But he was wrong about this, and nobody's here to stick up for Velikovsky except me against these kind of slanderous lies. All right, this is the real situation that's going on now. We are on the arm of the Milky Way being dragged forward here, the sun. And the sun is impacting with everything that's in space, and it's scrubbing the hell out of the sun. Way out in front of the sun. It's millions of degrees way out in front of the sun. Why? Why would it be in front of the sun being millions of degrees? And on the surface it's only 10,000. How did it get millions out in front? It's because it's scrubbing through the particles in space. That's the problem. That's what I want to talk to Neil about too. And we have the same thing. We're scrubbing through those same particles, heating up our ionosphere, which is a zone that makes the scrub, and causing all kinds of problems because our atmosphere is expanding. Now, if Jupiter did eject a ball into the middle of this, it's going to have to find its way somehow. And in the middle, it's going to be intertwining with all these other things. And it did apparently almost hit us, then hit Mars, and then took up its resonance. And I think it interacted with Saturn too. There's a lot to this that Velikovsky recorded. He did the real research. And it's time to look into his research, as I have, because it's very, very compelling. And mine is too. And now with the new things since Velikovsky passed years and years ago, and same thing with Sagan. You know, he would have maybe changed his mind. I don't mean to assault him, but I'm just not going to let this exist the way it is, that my guy is assaulted and everybody else is, oh, he's my hero, to Sagan. No. And I know Neil thinks he's his hero. He showed a nice little video how impressed and how he went to meet him when he was 17 years old, and he was very, very nice to him, and that's great, and he excited Neil. That's great, but now it's time to be a real scientist and engage in that science that he excited him about. That's what we need to do. All right, let me leave you at this. Don't forget, my guy is Velikovsky. Neil Tyson's guy is Sagan. Now, I thought he was very disrespectful to my guy, who was already dead and could not respond. So I am going to stick up for Velikovsky. I expect Neil Tyson to stick up for his guy, Carl Sagan. Now, let's just go through this one more time, because I think I showed you all of my evidence. Now, may have already gone through this, I can't remember, but if we did, that's fine. You're going to see it again, and I'm going to comment and just say, because the next videos are going to just blow your socks off. We're going to go into how Venus could literally give birth from its giant red spot, because it is literally a vagina. Now, you want to see? Let me just show you, and then let's listen to Carl Sagan and have his theories. You look up Jupiter and what's happened to it within the last several years. I'm going to show you right now what the red spot looked like. I think it was 5 or 6 years ago, and right now it's round and mounded way up and sloughing off red slabs. Here's what it looked like when it was not getting ready to give birth. All right, that, my friend, is a vagina. And this is actually called the Venus mound, the mons pubis, which is a vaginal bump right above the top of the vagina. All of this stuff is exactly what a vagina is. Even down to this little strap on the bottom that attaches this area to the rest of the buttocks. That's the strap. Even the hair areas, the hair follicles. You see them coming up the side? All the way up, all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. And it's now turned round and is sloughing off slabs of red. They don't know what it is, but they thought it was going to blow away. No, it's getting ready to give birth. Okay, this was just published August of 2021. That's a little over a year ago. And they are trying to understand the changes of the Great Red Spot. I'll explain exactly what's going on. The different wind speeds and why they're different wind speeds, why it's becoming circular, why it's flaking off red debris. All right, this is the Atlantic, and this is not too long ago either, just in 2019 or so. They're talking about the Great Red Spot may just disappear because it's changing, and here's what the changes are. All right, let me just show you the changes. All right, pay close attention to this. This is on 5/25 of 2019. This is day after day after day. Look at this. All that red stuff is sloughing off of a big round now red spot. And they thought, okay, maybe it's just going to break up. This is the next day. It looks like this. You see this? Like red, bloody looking stuff running off. This is the next day. It's changing strangely. This is the next day. Whatever this is blowing off this side now. You see it? And here it goes out. And here's the next day. And it stops here at 6/1. So this is only like not even a week. All of this happened not only a week. And they at first thought it was just going to blow away because you see these big red flakes, they said. That's how they described it, big red flakes. And it started to turn round, and the winds increased because the mound was increasing in size. If it mounds up, it will increase the wind speed. Exactly what did happen. And it is mounding up right now. You see this? They say a false color series of images capture the repeated flaking of red clouds flaking from the GRS, Great Red Spot, in the spring of 2019. In the earliest image, the flaking is predominant on the east side of the giant red vortex. The flake then breaks off from the GRS, but a new flake starts to detach in the fifth image. Two simultaneous events that led to flaking. All right, they come up with all kinds of statements that really don't make any sense at all. But here is what they're talking about: anti-cyclones converging with cyclones, doing this and that. Pieces of the red cloud scatter outward from the stagnation point, appearing as flakes and blades. Neither the mergers that created the lumps nor the close encounters with cyclones are unusual by themselves, but it is not that common for them to occur at the same time. This is just theory they're coming up with. However, neither event is a sign of ill health for the Great Red Spot. My colleagues and I believe it will survive for many more years. Well, it might, but I don't know about us. Just so you know, that all that stuff was from Jupiter's Great Red Spot may not be disappearing. All right? It seems to be flaking off, which is the blood. And it's by Philip Marcus, published Tuesday, November 26, 2019. Jupiter. All right, check this out. The planet itself is spinning in this direction. Venus is a mound. It's a bump. So as it impacts with this, it's spinning this way, so the clouds are coming at it. It has to come around it, and then it spins off like that. This is not making a storm. It's the impact of this mound with the oncoming stuff. So this is coming this way, and the mound is bumping into that oncoming stuff. And it has to go around it, you see it? And that's what's going around. And they show this, and it's quite obvious. And as the mound comes up, which it is now, the outside wind speeds have increased. I don't know how much. We're going to look into it, but they know how much is increased, and they say the wind speeds are increasing, and I think decreasing in the center because it's mounding up, and so this is kind of serious, really. It should be looked at. If Neil Tyson is an astrophysicist, I'd like to see him explain this. And I can tell you, I can explain exactly why you have these stripes here. These are impact zones. Where it impacts brightly means it's pushing the hardest. You see here and here, those are the hardest pushers as it scrubs around like this, probably going in that direction. But the planet is going this way. All right, so the red spot is moving that way into this stuff. You see it? And these are the most impact zones. And whenever you have impact, you have push to shove. That means the black stuff will go away from the pushy stuff. That's why you have these separations. Well, it's the exact same separation zones we find in our light experiments. And it's just the nature of energy particles versus non-energetic particles. They will push away from each other. That's that's electron flood theory. That's a whole other issue, but it all plays together. Now, so you understand the planet's going this way, the bump is coming up, more impact with the particles that are coming at it, because it's moving into them, it gets more and more swirling. That's what they're talking about, because it's rising up. And it sure looks like it's about ready to give birth to me. All right, here's another shot. Here's what you got, basically, is the red spot is moving in this way because it's part of the planet, moving into the atmosphere that surrounds it, plowing through it, just like we're plowing through ours. That's why you have storms and hurricanes and floods and tornadoes and rain. It's because of the interaction of the surface molecules with the upper atmosphere. And the harder the upper atmosphere, the more impact and the more violence and the more storms. And this is getting just like this little ball sitting right there now. And as it impacts with all this stuff is just doing what everybody else does. It's no big deal. However, when it hits this, a whole different issue. And it has to roll away. It has no other option. And as this gets bigger, it has to roll away faster. You see it? It's pretty obvious what's going on there. Now, like I say, I'm sort of a details guy. They showed these pictures, and I say, I can understand this. These are impact zones, which create more energy, and you're always going to have interference patterns between the energetic zone and another energetic zone. There will always be an interference pattern. That's just the nature of it. And I believe that's what sets up our solar system, basically, is the interference patterns between everybody. You stay yours, I'll stay mine. Now, this interests me deeply. You see this? Boom, boom, boom. boom, boom. And in between each one of them is like a little flare next to it. Now down here, it's not exactly the same. I don't know. I don't know what's going on down here. Here we have less impact than here. Here we have more glow. And whenever you have a lot of glow, you have a lot of push. Glow is push. And this is, well, let me say it's push to shove. Something is pushing and something's shoving back. That's exactly what glow is every single time. There is no, I don't think you can show me anything else. All right, it's expansion or it's compression, one or the other. Expansion against other things or compression against each other, one or the other. Now, why are these pulsating? That's interesting to me. This is the Venus mound right here. That's the Venus mound, and it is impacting with this. It has to swirl around here, and then when it does, it makes that slam back to here and starts glowing. And then it trails off. Look at this. Look at these things. What the hell is going on there? And they're up here too. See them? I understand the belts between them, and that I understand fully. But the rest, what that is, I don't know. They look like something that's sort of hooked together. Then you see these kind of things. I just don't know. I really don't know. And I'm not sure when this photograph was taken. Wow. Hold on a second. You see, I said I fully understand the impact zones, and this is a dark zone. This is a dark zone. That's one of the impact zones, an impact zone, and an impact zone. That's how they set up their own magnetic fields, pushing the other magnetic fields away, creating these dark zones between. This is a solar eclipse, so this moon is blocking, so we can see what that thing is shooting out, the sun. And the sun apparently is turning this direction and moving that way. These are the impacting zones, which are whacking really hard, and this is the trailing zone, which is coming around and it's just trailing off. But they still have some form of separation of powers. Now, obviously, that's the pole, and it's plowing through all the particles that are in space. All these got to go somewhere. These are all particles. They're not just nothing. They're leaving. And out here, where they're scrubbing against the particles that are in space, it's millions of degrees. On the sun's surface itself, it's only 10,000 degrees. Millions out here. Explain that one to me, Neil. All right, these are the things I'd like to have discussed, and then we'll talk about them. Who knows? I could be just totally crazy. You're talking about fusion and all this stuff, crushing and making all these things. How did it get from 10,000 here to millions out there? That's my question. All right, so don't forget, I'm about ready to close this one up, but we're going to be going back and forth about this until hopefully somebody responds. And I mean, if nobody does, well, nobody does, but it's never going to change the fact that what I'm saying is true. And it all started with me going against Dr. Tyson. And I appreciate it, and I can be very respectful. When you don't know something, you don't know something. But just like they all say, you don't know it until you don't know what you don't know, because you don't know what you don't know. The only way you can know what you don't know is to investigate what somebody else says they know. And then you can say, well, yes or no. You know, do you know? Probably not. No, just think about it. Think about thinking. That's all I ask. All right, interaction. Questions. Questions will get us to the end of this road. I have not had, honestly, I'm not kidding you, I swear this is an honest fact. In the entire time I've been doing all my different research, not one single question have I had from science in any one of my endeavors except one, and that was from Fermilab, asking how we photoed the photons. And I said CMOS. And they said, you're crazy and don't bother us ever again. Now they are beginning to use CMOS, saying, wow, we can use CMOS now to see these things. I told them to get focused too. This is the problem. This is why I'm against these people. A guy like this, he comes out, making it sound like everybody else is an idiot. Now, here we are, Neil. New development, nuclear fusion. I do this. I can do fusion and fission right now. Okay, Neil, here's what I got for you, buddy. Fermilab pointed out these particles in 2013, I believe. I sent to Don Lincoln, I have found your particles in our light experiments using pulsed red laser. Well, we used all different colors, but it's pulsed lasers. And it's always the black one, never changes, just like he says, called fixed particle, never changes. This one can get glowy, as you see, or get less glowy, as you see. Now, what we did was we put these particles, which are now photons. Half of that is an electron. Nobody's ever known about the dark side because you've never seen it. Only thing that glows back at us is the white side. Nobody's ever separated them like this before, ever, that they've seen, except at Fermilab, and they had no clue where they came from. They could see them, but they didn't know they came out of light. They just knew they were bits and pieces of protons when they smashed together. Well, they are from light, and they are the smallest particles that exist. They know that. But this is a strong nuclear force. They're held together as gluons. Two gluons make a photon. We put them through the venturi right here, and the black separated from the white, which is the muon neutrino turned into a sterile muon. It's called Cherenkov radiation. The electron neutrino, the white ball, turned into electron showers, just exactly like a zero. There's no difference. And this is from the Venturi effect. So, we're doing fission and fusion right now. And Neil Degrasse Tyson is talking about that, and I expect he would discuss it with me. Right there, that's fission. There's no question it's fission. We broke the black away from the white. And here is fusion, and that is light. And this is right up tight and close with actually CMOS cell phone. And this goes back to 2015. This is what I was trying to get Don Lincoln to take a look at. And he told me I was crazy. I mean, literally. I'm not kidding. It was not a pleasant experience. And these are the particles, the same particles he's showing. Anyway, that's why I'm very, very disappointed in our academic teachers and so forth, and even in our government employees, because Don Lincoln is a government employee, and I would think, I mean, I'm showing exactly, identical to what they are looking for. And when I talked about the interference patterns before, and the blacks separating from the whites, here it is right here. We're showing red behind it, but that normally would be black in a normal condition, but we just got so much radiation that it's showing through everywhere. But see the black here attaching to the white? You see it coming back? Right there. Snap. And that's where the Higgs fields show up. I have this in spades, my friends. So, the next video, hopefully Neil Tyson will get a hold of me, or somebody, you guys have to get a hold of him, because I can't get a hold of anybody. I can't get on Facebook. They banned me from Facebook. I'm pretty much suppressed in most, well, everywhere. You know, you get an email from me or any communication that probably says, watch out, you open this and you're going to be poisoned or something. I don't know what they do, but I don't get any responses. So whether they just don't care, I don't know what's going on, to be perfectly honest with you. It's disappointing. All right, you saw what Sagan had to say about Velikovsky. Now, he's talking about Velikovsky. He's not suppressing him, but he's just making him look like an idiot, because he's trying to make him look like an idiot. Let me put him that way. He's not asking any questions. He's just saying, this is what the guy says, and he's crazy, basically. Listen.
Curious argument alleging major recent collisions in the solar system proposed by a psychiatrist named Immanuel Velikovsky.
You hear that? A psychiatrist. Right away, he's just degrading him. This guy was more intelligent than in his little finger than Carl Sagan is in his whole body.
1950. He suggested that an object of planetary mass, which he called a comet, was somehow produced in the Jupiter system. He doesn't say exactly how it's produced, but maybe.
He did say how it was produced. He said it was born from the feared god Jupiter. And what he's doing right now is reality. And I'm going to show you that. I'm going to pick one piece at a time. And I want Neil Tyson to talk to me about this. Here's what he's doing. He's making it like a big joke. Ooh, look at this.
It's spat out.
Wow. Guess what?
Of Jupiter. Anyway, however it was made, some 3,500 years ago, he imagines, it made repeated close encounters with Mars, with the Earth-Moon system, having as entertaining biblical consequences the...
See, right there, entertaining biblical content, like it's a big joke. That's the thing they cannot accept any evidence of documentation that's presented in any of these ancient texts because they consider them all religiously oriented nonsense. Now, obviously some of it's not going to be right, but you have to look at what Velikovsky did. He went all into the ancient records of every civilization, not just in Jerusalem and Palestine and here and there. He went all over the world, India, South America, everywhere, into the Nordic areas, everywhere. 100% of the world he covered. And he collected the documentation, and they all had the same story. And it's the story that he's telling right now. So let's go back to where he makes a big joke out of how the planet comes out of here. And I actually can show you, and I'm going to tell you right now, Jupiter may give birth to another planet very soon, because that red spot, which is exactly where he's coming out of, is now swollen up and shedding red slabs. Look it up. Jupiter's red spot changing fast. It was like that, now it's like this, and it's shedding red out of it. And it's mounding up, and as the mound rises, the winds get faster. Let's hear about that, Neil. All right, so here we go. Here he is laughing at my hero.
Of Jupiter. Anyway, however it was made, some 3,500 years ago, he imagines, it made repeated close encounters with Mars, with the Earth-Moon system, having as entertaining biblical consequences the parting of the Red Sea so that Moses and the Israelites could safely avoid the host of Pharaoh, and the stopping of the Earth's rotation at the moment that Joshua commanded the sun to stand still in Gibeon. He also imagined that there was extensive flooding and the volcanoes all over the Earth at that time. Well, then after a very complicated game of interplanetary billiards is completed, Velikovsky proposed that this comet entered into a stable, almost perfectly circular orbit, becoming the planet Venus, which he claimed never existed until then. Now, these ideas are almost certainly wrong. There is no objection in planetary astronomy to collisions. We've seen collision fragments and evidence throughout the solar system. The problem is with recent and major collisions. In any scale model of the solar system like this, it's impossible to have both the sizes of the planets and the sizes of their orbits to the same scale, because then the planets would be too small to see.
Because of this, and it's impossible of that, and everything is theory, and it's all spoken of as fact. It is all just obviously wrong, whatever my hero Immanuel said.
If the planets were really to scale in such a model, as grains of dust. It would then be entirely clear that a comet entering the inner solar system would have a negligible chance of colliding with a planet in only a few thousand years. Moreover, Venus is a rocky and metallic hydrogen-poor world, whereas Jupiter, the place that Velikovsky imagines it comes from, is made of almost nothing but hydrogen.
Totally wrong. That's totally wrong. Absolutely wrong.
There's no energy source in Jupiter to eject planets or comets. If one did enter the inner solar system, there is no way it could stop the Earth from rotating, and if it could, there's no way the Earth could start up rotating again at anything like 24 hours a day. There's no geological evidence for...
It is hard to explain how it started to spin again, but I can show you in the actual representation of our solar system, which he's just got it on a flat plane. It is not. It's spiraling through space as a spinning ball of matter, and I'll show you how exactly what Immanuel Velikovsky said it happened.
For flooding and volcanism 3,500 years ago. Babylonian astronomers observed Venus in its present stable orbit before Velikovsky said it existed. And so on.
No. That's not true. Where did he come up with that? The Babylonians said it was there? No, it's incorrect. And on and on and on. Hold on one second. No, I'm going to just leave it at this. They came to be exactly what Velikovsky said. The position of Venus came to, in summary, 1483 BC, Venus solution is among the best fit. Another guy says 1419. Velikovsky says about 1500 BC. All right, as you know, I claim Velikovsky's my hero, Carl Sagan. I say he slandered him, defamed him, whatever. And Velikovsky couldn't speak for himself, and Sagan can't speak for himself. So Tyson has to speak for Sagan, and I will speak for Velikovsky. Here is the way this is going to unfold in my universe. Whether they participate or not is inconsequential to me. This was Velikovsky as told by Carl Sagan, which I probably already went through in detail, and it's by Clinton Anderson, and this is going to be how this will unfold. Velikovsky versus Sagan, and that's what I'm going to say. Here's what Sagan is saying, here's what Velikovsky says. What makes sense? Then I want to debate Neil Tyson from Roger Spurr. And I want to talk about science versus theology. Where is the breaking point? What is the division line? Is there one? Are they the same? Can you mix them? What is material evidence? Which is what I am, a material scientist. If there's no material, it's hard to really be forceful about your opinion, because it's going to only be opinion. And then you be forceful, you're just being forceful, that's all. Opinion's not, it's not fact. I do materials versus theory. I always get this all the time. Oh, no, you violate this principle. You violate that principle. I don't care what I violate. If I have the principle of the, like showing you fission and fusion, we did that 7 years ago. Truth versus self-interest. This is what it all boils down to. Can they accept the truth, or is it all self-interest? This is what we're going to find out, because the people that are just self-interested, they won't pay attention because they know they're not going to look authoritative, but they will look much better paying attention and speaking about this now, rather than being shown as to be not really truthful about their pursuit of truth. So who wins and who loses? Well, I can tell you what, truth is the winner. I think I've said that before, or I will say, and I'll say it forever. If you don't tell the truth, it's lost. It's crazy. You say do anything you want. Anything you want. No truth, man, who gives a shit? And that's what's happening now. It's just absolutely disgraceful. Anyway, I will leave it at that. Neil, please, my friend, I will be very respectful. This is all new, unexpected science, and that is exactly what I think maybe you even said it. Certainly Sagan said it. Somebody said it on your side. I've said it on my side hundreds of times. All right, thank you, my friend. Please, let's engage.